everybody, and welcome to the Make New Marketing Podcast. I'm Mia, and this is Grace. And every week we have cozy marketing chats all about how we can make marketing more meaningful and bite sized and bring it back to what it should all be about, which is connection. I almost got tongue twisted there, but I saved it. I got like a little connection. And today we're going to be sharing all about how we survived the past 2 years of taxes. Disclaimer, we are not lawyers. This is not legal advice. You need to go do all of your own research, but we wanted to share our story or some pieces of our story of how we personally survived taxes the past couple years, because I'm going to tell you after our first year in business, and then especially our second, I have told numerous people, I see why businesses don't make it.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
if you are not prepared, you are going to get hit with a lot. Like I'm talking like $20,000, $30,000 within the span between, taxes,
yeah.
fees and everything, depending on how much you make, obviously. Like I'm talking about those types of large amounts of money, that's all at once, that if you're not prepared for, it could be very detrimental to your
Yeah.
business. And, we are very fortunate in our just how our business is structured. It's allowed us the room to prepare for that. We don't have like a lot of overhead with products
Overhead.
and stuff, but we've worked in businesses that deal with that. So we do know a little bit about that. And so the biggest thing that I want everyone to know, I'm going to preach the news about to every business
Right.
owner, is save your money. I know it's tempting, y'all. I know it is tempting when you are not making crap, because we've been there.
That was
We've been
hard.
there where we're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week and literally have each like a couple $100
Yep.
each to show for it. And
Yep.
we're one, like I'm like selling my clothes to pay the
Yeah.
bills
Hey,
and stuff
that
like that.
that was real. In
Yeah.
the beginning, that was real. Like we don't gatekeep anything. So we want this episode to be kind of like the not so glamorous side of running a small
Yes.
business, right? But with an encouraging edge because we've figured
Yes.
out how to, make things work for ourselves. And in the very beginning, it would have been really nice to have a podcast like this to listen to where people are being honest about what it's like the very first time you go to pay your taxes or
Yeah.
how to structure your books a little bit, like when you're starting out, because I just feel like there's not enough resources for that.
No, there's not. I feel like a lot of people are afraid to talk about it,
Yeah.
probably because of like legal things. We were talking about this. So we're just telling you right now, again, we are not lawyers. This is
Yeah.
not legal advice. We're just sharing
It's experience.
our experience. But yeah, I would say the biggest thing is save. And
Save.
for us personally, the magic number for the past 2 years was 25% of everything that we earned before anything else got put in a bank account. And it was saved for taxes. There was like maybe every now and then, and I mean 1, 2 times a year, there might be something come up that we would be like, hey, we could use, we need this for the business
Sure.
or whatever. So we could take that out of the tax savings.
And it
But yeah,
hurts.
I'm talking like one time a year, maybe. That for the majority of the part
Yeah.
that goes untouched. And that is one, used as cash flow for us personally, used as cash flow money, and two, just tax savings. And when I
Mhm.
say cash flow money, like if you work as a small business owner, you're paid. It's not as simple as like every 2 weeks you get paid, right? That's great. I honestly, when I used to get paid every single week, just
Oh,
every Friday, I knew that, oh,
what a
heaven, that was
luxury.
great. So especially at first. So once we got our tax savings built up enough, then it was like, oh, well, this can also be used because you deal with annoying things. Like if somebody pays through an ACH transfer,
Mhm.
you've got maybe 2 weeks before
Before it's
that
actually there.
clears. It's in your account, all of that. And so we use that to help with that, where we
Mhm.
can have a bit of a more consistent paycheck. And
Yeah.
then when
It
the money
floats
comes
us.
in, it just gets put right back in the tax account.
Yeah.
But the big thing is 25%. And we're actually upping ours because of this second tax year we just had and certain things that we found out that we're going to be responsible for probably in the next tax year. We're upping that to 28%. So I would say start with 25% of everything you earn. I know you feel the pinch. We felt the pinch. We still feel the pinch. And then put that in a separate account. And then as you approach each year, though, evaluate where you're at, how much wiggle room you had, because there's going to be things that your tax person says, oh, next year we need to plan for this, or, Did you know you needed to do this? Well, next year we're going to have to take that
Mhm.
into consideration. We found out there's going to be a cost that's going to come up for us next year that's going to add like maybe an additional 2.5%. So instead of panicking, instead of maybe there was some panicking, instead of panicking and stuff like that, though, I was just like, okay, well, if we're going to have to add something on that's
Yeah.
2.5% more next year, then it's simple. We just need to save 2.5 more percent.
Yeah.
So like keeping it simple like that, but just paying attention to your savings. And I mean, honestly, the biggest thing is like save, save, save.
And I would say make it a non-negotiable from the beginning.
Hmm.
The time it's gonna suck the worst is at the beginning, right? Because that's when you're not making that much money, and you're gonna feel like you're not being rewarded for your efforts, like Mia
Hmm.
said. But if you make it a non-negotiable and a habit from the beginning that, whatever your percentage is, whatever your magic number is, for us it was 25, if that automatically goes in a different pot, then you don't even need to think about it. That's not even money you made, okay? Think about it
Yeah.
that way. It's going to set you up for success. You will be so much happier come tax time when you have what you need to cover your taxes versus making a little bit more now that you can stretch. I mean,
Yes.
that I feel like that is some of the biggest small business advice we could give.
The best, honestly, because you're not only going to be hit with taxes, you're going to be hit with annual things like annual reports, which is kind of to keep up your business license, just to tell the state, hey, everything's the same, or I need to update this information. You might have to pay registered agent fees, and there's going to be all these different things that add up, pay someone to do your taxes. There's just so many things that when we got to it, I was like, thank God we saved money because if we wouldn't have, there's no way we would have been able to afford
And
this.
I think that stress outweighs the stress of feeling a little bit tighter month to month. Like
Yes.
you're gonna have to figure out how to make your ends meet in the beginning,
Mhm.
probably, and that could be 6 months, a year, 2 years. Like that just depends on your business, and there's no shame in however long it takes to start really
Oh,
making it right.
everyone's different.
Everyone's different, but like Mia said, she sold clothes, I sold clothes for a minute, little odd jobs and whatever. Do what you need to do to make your ends meet, but don't sacrifice the savings. Like, don't let that be the thing
Yeah.
that you've let fall by the wayside because it's going to be way easier to get into
Mhm.
a routine now and keep up with it than it is to panic at tax time and figure it out for next year.
Yes, and from experience from someone who has been painfully poor numerous times in her life,
Hmm.
like going through McDonald's and getting denied for a dollar cheeseburger poor,
Yeah.
that was like
Low.
more in my early 20s, but you will expand and you will expand to the amount of money that you have.
True.
If and until you know how to manage that well, like if you have less money and you really want to make it work, like you'll find ways to make it work, things to cut. Everyone's situation's different, obviously. I can't speak to everyone's, but just in my personal experience. And then when you have more money, you'll find ways to spend that money. So that is something that as we started to save that I remembered too, as I was like, at the end of the day, whether it's getting a secondary job for the moment, whether it's doing some rinky dink little things or
Odd
selling
jobs.
stuff, whatever it is, like at the end of the day, I'll find a way to pay the
Yeah.
bills,
Well,
you know?
and owning your own business, work following your dreams, like, there's a cost associated, and if you want it bad enough, you will figure out how to float yourself, I think, and also just remember that everything is only for a season.
Yeah.
So, that first year was rough, like, Mia and I had some come aparts, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's just the transparent truth. Some days don't feel like I wanna get up and, be a part of this business that I created, but also
Yes. Especially when you're not making, when you don't feel like you're getting
oh,
much of a reward from it. And you're like, I'm working my tail end
yeah,
off and I'm literally still having to figure out how to pay the bills.
yes.
So yeah, so don't be discouraged, but like Grace said, prioritize that
Mhm,
from the get-go, whatever you have to do. And then just look with just neutrality, try to have a moment to look at your situation from a bird's eye view and think about if you had a friend who was asking you for advice or something like, okay, how would I if I didn't have emotions tied into this, how would I tell someone that they should go handle
yeah,
this? A lot of the time that helps me to just take a lot of the stress and emotion out of it. But the other thing I was going to say that I personally love to do, and banks will sometimes give you a hard time about this, is having multiple accounts. So we have a business expense account, we have a payroll account, we have an unsorted account, and then we have a tax account. And so everything has its place. When there's time for something to be paid out, it goes in the payroll account. What I personally love more than anything, though, is that changed when I'm doing the back end of our finances, having an unsorted account. So that's an account where all of your income
yep,
comes in and is deposited And I know when it comes into that account, taxes have not been taken out of it. Nothing has been done to it. It has just come in other than maybe fees from like our processors and stuff had been taken out of it. So then I know, okay, I have to take the 25% of whatever is in that account. And then I decide how much is going to go to payroll, how much is going to go to business, or if I need to pay some back in the tax account if we, use that for cash flow, whatever. So that's like a huge thing. And when I first asked for that from our bank, they were a bit like, well, you're going to have to fill out a bunch of paperwork for each account, and all these things. And I was like, that's fine. But I
Done.
want multiple accounts because that is going to save me
It makes your life
so much
easier.
time. Yes, it keeps everything separate. It makes sure I know what has had taxes taken out of it and not. And then at the end of the year, I'm not a great bookkeeper. Not really. I don't go monthly really and do a bunch of bookkeeping for us. We don't have a bookkeeper hired, but at the end of the year, it makes it so much easier because I just know all of
Yeah.
our expenses came out of the business expense account. All of our money paid to us came out of the payroll account. And I
Well,
know I have this much set aside for
and
taxes.
that goes to show that, even if it's a more non-traditional setup, like she said, even if the banks give you a little bit of lip about it, do whatever you need to do to make it easier for you to manage. Whatever's going to
Mhm.
make it easier for you to manage. Like Mia and I are not fans of business and numbers and math. You know what I
No,
mean? Like
not math girlies.
we're not math girlies, like, that's not our gifting.
No.
So but we've figured out really, Mia has figured out a way for us to build our systems to where it's, like, easy and as painless as it can be. So let that empower you guys too. We don't have a bookkeeper, but we figured it out, and
Yeah.
we have been saving enough to cover our
Yeah.
tax burden, so you can do it too, you just have to figure out what works.
Yeah. And I will say we don't have a bookkeeper. Like we don't, I'd love to get one day. That we're just not at that stage of our business yet. We did, however, both years pay for someone to do our taxes for us
Yeah.
on the
Yes.
business level. And
Yes.
then this year I'm paying for someone to do it on the personal level.
Mhm.
So I don't know what it's like to file it without. I didn't want to deal with that headache. I think both years for somebody to file it for an LLC on the business level,
Yes.
both years, I think we paid $750 for someone to do that each
Yeah.
time.
And
To
expect
me,
that.
because we saved the money and I didn't have to stress about it, I was like, this is worth paying someone
Agreed.
$750 so I don't have to worry about that portion of it. So that's another thing that when you're saving, that is going to save you stress in the areas that you choose. I don't want to have to stress about this area.
Yeah,
So
well,
I am going to pay someone to deal with this. And because we
great
saved the
point.
money, we can pay someone to deal with this part.
Use the professionals where they're needed for sure, and just assume that there's gonna be an incurred cost there, like, that
Yeah.
number is gonna sound really big to somebody who just started their business and doesn't have a lot to spare and has already been putting away this much for taxes, but if you want the confidence, of knowing that this has been done correctly,
Hmm.
just bite the bullet and pay that, and
Yeah.
then, like you said, decide if you wanna pay someone to do your personal taxes too, or if you wanna do them on TurboTax,
Yeah.
which some years has worked great for me and some years has been very stressful.
Yes.
So
So, and one thing I was going to say too about the saving is like when I say save 25%, I know when we save that, we're increasing it now because our business expenses, what we're having to pay in each year is increasing some. Um, but that also include like that isn't just for taxes. That is incorporating what we're anticipating we need to pay for annual fees and stuff.
yeah.
So I think when we talked to a financial advisor at first, she told us to start with like 22 or 23% just for the tax part of things. So then that's when we said, well, we're going to save an additional
3
amount. We're going to just make that 25 so that way we have enough. And here's the thing guys, if you save more than you need, you just get a nice bonus at the end of the year.
That's a
Like
great tip.
that's just so keep that in mind. Like it's not like that money's just floating away. And then two more things before we wrap up that I think are going to help y'all a ton, just like quick things. One, be prepared for self-employment tax if you've never had to deal with that. It's the largest portion of your taxes. And that really
It
threw
hits
us for a
hard.
loop when
Yeah.
we saw how much the federal taxes are and then how much self-employment tax is. Don't quote me on it. Look up what it is. I think it's around like 15 something percent. And that's a lot. However, you know, as you make more money and stuff, that's not going to feel as burdensome,
True.
but be prepared for that. Like, don't just think about if you're going in and you're like, oh, I want to estimate and all that, your federal taxes are all you're paying. You have to pay that self-employment tax. And that's something that as a W 2 employee,
Yeah. It's
you
a
are not
benefit.
used to that
Yeah.
because from my understanding, my limited understanding about this is companies pay a portion of that
They
for
do.
you. And then what comes out of your check is the other portion of that. Where now, as a self employed person, you're covering that full 15,
Yeah.
whatever percentage it is. And that is a big shock when you first, because you're like, oh, I'm in this tax bracket. I should, do this, whatever, depending on the structure of your business. With LLC, you really just kind of file your personals. Like you have some preparation in your business, you pay some stuff with your business, but then you have a lot through your personals. And which was very confusing to us at first too, because we were like, what do you mean? I don't understand. Yeah. So definitely ask about those things too. Like ask your tax professional about, okay, what does the structure look like for the business structure I have? And the last thing is to make sure that you are paying your quarterly tax payments. We did not know this at first, and then we found out, oh, it's not just a suggestion to
Right.
pay quarterly tax payments. If you are making over a certain amount of money, that is expected. And get with your tax professional for like the exact details, but you should on your return after your first year of business at least be able to they'll just have that estimated
The
payment for
voucher.
you. Before that, you might have to talk to a tax professional or somebody to go, "Hey, this is the amount of revenue I'm bringing in. It's my first year of business, so like what would I need to pay in quarterly?" But yeah, it's easy once you do it, but it feels very intimidating at first. Once you have it down and everything, you literally go onto, for the US, like you literally go onto the IRS website and you just pay it. Other countries, this is obviously going to look different for you. Like you might have biannual payments, your dates are going to be different than us, but I'm pretty sure most places there's like little tax check-ins throughout the year that as a business, if you're earning over a
You
certain
should
amount
be
of
doing.
money, you have to pay those in at that
Yeah.
time. And honestly, again, because we were saving, that was never a stress for us. The money was always there. So we just paid it in. And then at the end of this year, I'm not saying it felt better.
Right.
It's about the same, I feel like, because either way, I know I paid that amount of money in, but
Yeah.
I did feel better knowing that like, oh, okay, we didn't miss the quarterly deadline, so we're not having to, pay in
Right.
any fees or anything like that. So,
Yeah. And with all of this, just remember you'll learn as you go. All of it's intimidating in the beginning. We certainly were intimidated and didn't know what we were doing with our finances. It's kind of uncharted territory, right, for a minute. But just know that we figured it out, so you guys can absolutely figure it out. Everything is only for a season, and
mhm.
these things will become less overwhelming the more you learn about running your small business.
Yeah, it totally will. And yeah, and if you really feel intimidated, go have a coaching call with the tax
Yeah,
professional, a
we did that
consulting
too.
call. Yeah, we did that too. We paid a couple $100, had a call with somebody and asked them all our questions. Like there's resources out there like that. So hopefully this can encourage you to be saving and, looking at the things you need to look at and give you the little bit of encouragement you need to know that you can do this, it's possible, but also maybe push you in the right direction
Yeah,
of what steps do I need to take? These
yeah,
are the things I am doing. And again, everyone does things differently. These are just the things that work for us
yeah,
personally. And we'll keep you all updated next year as if we
yeah.
learn anything else that works
Hoping
for
it
us.
becomes even easier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully. So thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to tune in every Friday because we have a new episode at 11 a.m. Eastern Time every Friday. We can't wait to talk with you soon, and we hope you have an amazing week. Bye,
Bye.
y'all.